Hello everybody. How's it going? My name is Brian Locke, and today we will be streaming about working on a library. So you might have seen him in the chat or seen his channel before, but Stephen Ludgate wrote a library on using the Octoprint API. So Octoprint is a software that you normally put on Raspberry Pis that you attach to your 3D printer, and it lets you, have a web interface to control your 3D printer from anywhere in the house or even anywhere in the world if you want to port forward to it. So Stephen has written a library around this already, and we are going to take a look at making some changes to it. So the first thing I need to do is so let's pull up Stephen's library first, and we'll show why I want to make some changes to it. Hey Continuum, yeah, thankfully the vocals are working. I've done that before where I've been talking for like 5 minutes and forgot to turn on my mic, so thankfully it's working this time. So okay, let's do screen share plus me. We don't really need the desk today. So okay, so this is Steve's Octoprint API library. So it's pretty simple at the moment. He's just got a couple of the basic use cases covered. Hey LGB Kai, I've never played The Division, but I've heard pretty good things about it. Yeah, so he's just got a couple of the simple use cases going. Just I think the status of the printer is the main one, but he'll be building on this over time, I believe. But the main thing that I was talking to him about, and that I'm going to do in this pull request, is Stephen uses the ESP8266 HTTP client to communicate with the Octopi API, and that's fine. That works perfectly well, and there's even some things that I know you can do with this ESP8266 HTTP client that I'm not sure if you can do my way, so we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, the problem with this is that it makes this library completely ESP8266 specific, which isn't always ideal, especially now that we're starting to see the ESP32 kind of come into its own. And even if we look at the issues here on GitHub, people are already asking for Ethernet access. So if you do it a more generic way, it's possible to be able to connect an Uno with an Ethernet adapter or a Mega with an Ethernet adapter up to this library, because it seems like it should be reasonably basic in terms of being able to implement that. And I'll show the changes we're going to make now in 2 seconds. I just want to see why my I tried to get the example working, and I had it working before, so I am going to just check why my Octoprint server isn't up. Maybe it's on a different IP address or something. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be responding to me going to it. I'm going to do some of this off screen because I'm just not sure whether I should be showing my my router page to people. So if you can just wait 2 seconds. Where do I go? LAN. Is it LAN? Probably. Okay, yeah, so I don't see Octoprint on, so let me just press the button on that PC. Yes. Yes, the reason I don't see anything is because it's not plugged in. I keep meaning to run cables better than this, but hey, Aiken now, how's it going? I'm not sure if you're talking about me or Stephen, but Stephen certainly is a legend. I don't know how he has time to do anything. I've got one child, he's got twins and two others. I don't know where he finds the time to do anything, but yeah. Okay, still looking for whether that I got new devices on the list. I don't see them, do I? It's product information. Ah, yes, here we go. Octoprint. Okay, so it looks like it's there now. Okay, cool. So that's probably what was wrong with I have it up and running now. That was probably what was wrong with the example earlier, is that Octoprint wasn't there. And yeah. So as you can see here, printer is not operational. My 3D printer isn't on. It's pretty loud, so I amn't going to inflict that to you. But you can see here it's checking out the Octoprint API and version number of the server I'm running. This is really old. It's close to 2 years old now. I'm running it on an old low power PC that I had that I originally bought to be a media box or something, and I keep meaning to replace it with a Raspberry Pi, and that's why I don't bother update it, but I still haven't done that, so yeah, we'll see. So yeah, if you all want to say hi in the chat or whatever, we'll kick this off. Yeah, so the main change that I want to make to this is that instead of using that HTTP client that I mentioned here, what I'd like to do instead is to get the end user to pass in a client into the constructor of the Octoprint library. So what this allows for is if the library itself uses the client interface, which is the base level client that all like implementations of it use. So if you're using an ESP8266, an ESP32, the Ethernet Shield, all their clients are based off this base client class. So if you use the base client class, you can accept any of those clients in, and you'll just be using standard methods that all of them accept. So it makes it super flexible. Hey, Aiken Ow, and hello, Kirakus. Sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. I'm pretty terrible at reading, apparently. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, so this is hosted on Steve's GitHub account, and what we want to do is I need to make a fork of this, and what a fork will do, I have lost the ability to scroll. Let me just hide the chat for 2 seconds. What the fork will do is it'll copy a version of this library onto my GitHub account, and then I'm going to make changes to that one, and then I'm going to do something called raise a pull request, which is this guy here. And what that'll do is it'll give Steve a list of the changes I've made in comparison to his version of it, and he can decide to accept this or reject it or comment on like, why did you do this or why did you do that. So yeah, it's a pretty nice feature of Git, but yeah. So I'm going to click this big fork button. I'm going to fork it as myself at Witness Me Now, and it's taking a big copy of it. And yeah, that's it. Forked on. So this is now my version of the Octoprint API. Easy. My ball. No. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna check out this. I'm gonna clone, actually, is the correct term, this library using something called source tree. So I actually have I have an old video around setting up source tree to use with your Arduino IDE. Yeah, so I think it's called like backup your sketches with Bitbucket or something. But source tree is just a Git. Let me bring back the chat. Source tree is just a Git tool for, I think it's for it's definitely for Windows because I'm on Windows, but I think it's also for like Mac and stuff too. Like you can use command line Git, but this is much easier if you're getting started. And even easier again actually is the GitHub for Windows client. If you're just getting started, use that first. It's super easy to set up, and you know, it's really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again, my chat is in the way here, but I'm going to press this plus button, and I'm going to open a full screen. So I am going to go to remote. So I already have my GitHub account linked up to this. You can see it there. So I'm going to search for Octoprint, and you can see here's my Octoprint library that here's my Octoprint library that I just made a fork of. So yeah, I just saw something in the chat there 2 seconds ago. I'll just address that now in a second. So I clicked the clone button, and this is going to bring the repository down. So it's just going to, it's like downloading the code basically. So I'm just going to save that in a standard folder. Click the clone button. These libraries are pretty small, so this should check out pretty quickly. And what's also cool is not only did it copy Stephen's code across, it copied across all his changes as well. So I can go back and see anything, like any change that happened, and see, okay, so in this change he changed the readme, and I can see the changes that he made. So it's really cool to kind of keep that history of stuff. So if you're working on a project, I really recommend using something like GitHub. So it's just to back it up, and then you can go back to any stage that, you know, if you had something working and then you got rid of it, you're like, what am I doing? Yeah, so, okay, let's see. Some people don't understand forking and just fork random repositories to save them. Yeah, I see that all the time. Actually, my Telegram library has like 40 forks, and maybe like 6 people have made changes on it. So you can just star repositories as well, which is a good way of kind of saving them. But oh yeah, that's true too. Like people do it. Yeah, like, you know, you've got good intentions. Like, why do you join the gym in January? I've just given up joining the gym. I don't even bother. Maybe I should. But yeah, you know, you've good intentions that, oh yeah, I must make a change to that at some stage, but you know, things get in the way. So I am going to use so the changes I will be making, I'm going to use something called Atom, which is an editor to make these changes. It's also made by GitHub, actually. Excuse me. And I'm just going to open folder. I'm going to navigate to my documents folder, where I should have an Octoprint API. And I'm just going to select this folder and open it up. So what's nice about Atom, and Visual Studio Code is pretty much the same, and you know, there's a few that are pretty similar to this now. I just used Atom a good bit a couple of years ago, and I'm just kind of used to it now. So you can see, like, I opened the folder, and everything that's underneath that folder is here on the side. I'm going to see if I can zoom you in a bit, because it's a little bit small. Editor font size 25. Maybe the menu just doesn't change. I don't know. Let's see what that opens up as. Okay, that's massive. Okay, so the menu doesn't change too much, but yeah, at least the text is big. So let's exit out of settings. Look, yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, so this is what is going to be referred to as a breaking change. So ideally, you don't want to make breaking changes to your libraries. What this will mean is if Stephen accepts this change into his repo, anybody who updates their version of Octoprint to this new one will have to make code changes to accept it. So you want to be careful when you are making changes to a library that only change it to be a breaking change as a last resort. So, you know, try make uses of default variables and things like that. So, you know, C++ supports having two different types of constructors. For example, if you want to add another variable into it, maybe you can keep the old one as well. But this is definitely a breaking change. There's no way around it, because, you know, previously they needed this library included, and now we don't want them to have that anymore. So what we're going to do is we'll first change this header file. We're going to remove the need for this. I actually don't think I need to include anything in here to do with that. I'm just going to double check though. Let's see. No, I do. So I'm just checking one of my other repositories. So I do include the client class. So the client class comes by default with Arduino. So, you know, this isn't any special library or anything. This Arduino JSON this needed to be installed by the user. But this client one is just a default Arduino library. So that's cool. And what we're going to do here is we're going to let me just pull up my other one, so I'm making sure that I'm giving you correct information. So we're going to pass in a reference, I believe, to a client. I'm terrible at C++, so I'm not I'm not 100% sure if I'm using pointers and reference terminology correctly, but this stuff does work for me, so don't worry too much about it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep a private variable client. So the user is going to pass in a client in the constructor, and we're going to save it here to use it later. There's a couple of other things that I would like to do. So Steve passes in the port number, which is also good. So the reason why it's a good idea to pass in the port number, or to make the port number something you can set as a property, is because Stephen was talking about supporting HTTPS as well. So normal HTTP will be on port 80. HTTPS is typically on port 443. And then, like, I don't know if you noticed with my Octoprint there, I'm running Octoprint. For some reason I can't see the okay there. I'm running Octoprint on port 5000 for some reason. So, like, yeah, passing in the port number is definitely something that's needed for Octoprint, I would say. So that's good that he's passing that in. And another thing that I find quite useful is to add a debug flag. So you know, you can wrap your serial calls in the this debug flag. So if you're just printing out, like, you know, I connected to the server or whatever, you know, wrap that in the debug call. So then if a user is having issues, they can set this flag to be true, and then they can see it. But, you know, the library isn't unnecessarily noisy on the serial monitor if, you know, by default. So that's cool. Okay. Hey, let's have a look. Michael, how's it going? No, you haven't really missed anything yet. We're making changes to Stephen Ludgate's Octoprint library. So we can support ESP32 and basically any Arduino board, hopefully. And then now, is commenting code in this library necessary when writing code for open source libs? Yeah, basically, like the rule of thumb is that if it would be helpful to have a comment, you should write a comment. That's the general rule of thumb of software engineering. Like, even, you know, remember that if you go look at this in 6 months, you need to remember it too. So, yeah, there's kind of often jokes about that, like, you know, you're like, what idiot wrote this code? And then it's like, oh wait, it was me. Yeah, so like LGB Kai is saying, you know, comment the code if the function is not self-explaining. Yeah, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to contribute to the code. So you can see here that Steve has commented out a serial printer. What I would do for this now instead is to wrap that around that Boolean statement that I just added. So, but let's worry about that in a second. So we need to take in the client here. So let's do that. So I'm just going to copy and paste it from here, and then we just need to save it. So client. I'm gonna stick to Stephen's naming convention of his private keys as well. I don't know, debug maybe shouldn't be an underscore, but I'll stick to his naming convention. So with the underscore. So and there we go. So that's saved our client, and we're going to use that client later. So let's save this. Okay, step 1 done. Yeah, so now what we want to do is we want to replace the calls to we want to replace the where we use HTTP client with just a regular client instead. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to connect to the server. So let me just pull up. I've been working on a Reddit API. Yes, will that do? Sure. So you can see here it's client. So normally if you were just using this in the Arduino sketch, you would use client.connect, but because it is a pointer to an object, you need to use this arrow. So it's client arrow, I don't know what the correct term for that is, but client arrow connect, and then you're putting in the host. So this will be like the IP address or the domain. So for the Reddit one, it's api.reddit.com, and then the port number. So we're going to just try, the user had to pass in their IP address, so we're going to try use the IP address as the host, and then the port number they also passed in, so we're going to try connect to that. And then all we're going to try do is then print out connected to the server, because that's step 1, and we don't want to run too much stuff and then realize that we're going down a rabbit hole. Is client a normal TCP client? I believe it is, yeah. So it's like, yeah, it is. It's a raw HTTP client, so you need to like write out, here is my request. Where is that Reddit one? That makes more sense. So you're printing out onto the client, I want to do a get, I want to hit this endpoint, and I want to use HTTP /1.1, and then you want to specify your headers, and then you put in your blank line at the end to say, yeah, I'm finished, so send me back stuff. Yep. So okay, cool. So let's try connect to the server, and then that'll be it. So I'm going to if client.connect, so we should have an IP address here, yeah, I guess it's this Octoprint host, and then we want the port number, Octoprint port, it's this guy, raw TCP client. Yeah, yeah, networking isn't really my strong point, so I'm not sure if I'm using these terms correctly. I think it's right to say that it's a raw TCP client. It's not wrapped in anything. It's as low level of a client as possible. So okay, so let's print out if we're in here. So serial.println. Actually, I'm just going to grab it from this Reddit one because I can grab my if debug statement as well. So this might look a little strange, but this is the same as writing this. So if the statement, like if you don't have these curly brackets, what's on the same line will be considered part of, you know, inside the if statement. So it's just kind of a it's just kind of a like a shorthand. It makes the, you know, as unintrusive as possible to just keep the stuff there. Yeah, so while we're working on this, has anybody been working on any cool projects recently or anything? I didn't really do anything last week in terms of project work, so yeah, just kind of nice to take a break. So okay, I'm just gonna comment out all the HTTP client code because it would throw an exception. Get printer statistics. So that's probably gonna throw an exception when it tries to parse, but the JSON parser will just fail, so that's fine. I'm just looking at what okay, here's more HTTP client stuff. So let me just pull in the exact same changes into that. I need to oh, one is probably a post and the other is a get, is it? Get Octoprint endpoint results. I'm a bit confused why there's two. Is anybody using this? No. So this isn't used by anybody, so I'm just going to get rid of it. It's not used by anybody in there. Huh, that's strange. Did the examples use it? Ooh, get print job info. Okay, maybe it's new since I last saw this. It's not there. It's not there either. Okay, let's see. I learned TypeScript. Yeah, I'm doing some TypeScript and work at the moment. Actually, I like it. It's a bit confusing to get your head around it sometimes, especially if you've been used to working with JavaScript. I know they're similar, but like just the typing or whatever is a bit strange. George Dack, I could not tell you. I'm sorry. I really don't know C++ that well at all. I kind of am more along the lines of hey, this worked for me, move on. It's cool. The Plano Addict says it's the same, so that's cool. Good to know. And SciQ built a multi-button box and encoder with Arduino Leonardo. Cool. That's cool. I have a couple of Pro Minis or whatever the similar one to the Leonardo is, but I haven't actually done any work with it. So okay, I do not see where this is being called, but this is going to throw an exception if I leave it here. So I'm just going to replace it with the debug code. Actually, I'll comment it out, and in case we do need it. Yep. Okay, cool. So that should be a functioning thing now at the moment. Like, sorry, functioning. It should print out connected to the server when I set debug equals true. But other than that, it should work okay. So what I need to do now is I need to go into my Arduino folder and go into my libraries. So it's just Brian Documents, Arduino, and then libraries. And I need to delete the Octoprint API folder. So this is not the folder we've been working on. That's in my documents. This is the one I installed from the library manager. So I need to replace that with the one we've been working on. So there's a couple of different things you can do with this. So you could, when you were cloning down the repo, clone it straight into this libraries folder. That should work pretty well. Another thing that you can do is, especially if you're on Mac or something, is you can make a symbolic link from here where it's downloaded into the Arduino library folder. So that will work too. But another thing you can just do is literally paste it in. So that's it in there. So one thing that it'll have troubles with is reloading the examples unless I close and open the IDE. But yeah, I think I can just run this old example and it should be fine. So like, let's run this example first, and it should fail because I'm not passing in a client. So let's see it do that first. So we're compiling the sketch. Cool. So yes, so it failed because it doesn't have a constructor that matches this. So we need to pass in a Wi-Fi client instead, which is one of these guys. So Wi-Fi client, that? Oh, it's capital F, of course. Yep, so you just need to initialize it like that. That should be it. So I've already set the IP address in the example up here. I've set my HTTP port. Also, I have my API key in this secret.h. My Octoprint server isn't exposed to the internet anyway, so it probably doesn't matter, but you know, for security's sake. So I literally have a hash define of the secret SSID Wi-Fi. Well, this gets printed out on my serial monitor, so you can see that anyways. But my Wi-Fi password and my API key are in the secret.h. So I've imported or hash included secret.h, and then I'm using them. So cool. Let's upload. Yeah, SciQ, I keep meaning to do a box. Well, I don't know exactly what your box was for. I think you said Elite Dangerous. Is that a rhythm game or something? I can't remember. It sounds familiar, but no, like I'd like to use it for streams and stuff that, like, you know, I could change the scenes using a button or whatever. And I plan to do it using the Bluetooth HID module that I made in one of the videos. So I have an issue here. What is the issue? Expected blank before blank. Ah yes, I never closed out my if statement. So, oops. Yeah, so the problem with editing the library not in the same folder as you're working on is, or sorry, not in the Arduino one, is that yeah, every mistake you make, you need to copy it across again. So maybe edit it in the one you're working on. Okay, so I'm just gonna open up the two Octoprints, and I'm just gonna copy across this one to here. Replace. Okay. And then we'll try upload again. I have a feeling that this is gonna happen a lot, so I'm sorry. Hopefully we can get into more solid stuff. What did I do here? Client was not declared in scope. That's because it's underscore client. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so we've changed that to underscore client, and now we're going to go back in here and we'll copy across the C++ file again. And replace. That took longer than I thought it would. But anyways, Octo example. Yeah. I don't know if any of you follow me on Twitter, but I bought a reflow oven. Well, I bought a reflow oven today. I bought a toaster oven today, second hand, and I plan to use it for doing SMD reflow. So I'm probably gonna have to break my AliExpress diet to buy something to use that with, because I actually don't have anything. Okay, so the problem here is that I'm trying to convert a string to an IP address. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So the string is an IP address, but yeah, I guess that is an issue. Okay. Let's see what the story is. So yeah, this could be an issue going forward, because it could either be an IP address or it could be a host name either. So that is potentially an issue. But let's get it working for IP address first, and then we'll see what the story is. So Arduino IP address. So it's not a toaster, it's a toaster oven, if that makes sense. Let's go to my Twitter. I'll show you. How do I see my tweets? So yeah, basically it's just like a small little oven, and like it has two heating elements up the top and two heating elements down the bottom. If you've ever seen videos by Sean Hodgins, he talks about using it as a solder reflow oven, and it seems to work really well for him. So I'm gonna give it a go. A lot of people replace the electronics in it with yeah, I think Michael is talking about that now. Yeah, so you replace the electronics in it with something better, like a PID temperature controller. I'm gonna see how it goes without that first, because I'm not building anything that is a big problem or anything. So if I get a board and I burn it or whatever, I don't care. Like, as in, nobody's waiting for this. So okay, so what I might do is I might change that string to be an IP address like this, and this is actually how we could potentially get around the issue with whether it's an IP address or a URL that we could have two different constructors, one that takes an IP address and one that takes a URL, and then we can use whichever based on that. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, so I brought that along with me, didn't I? IP address, yeah. So IP address, I'll leave it as IP. So 192.168.1.5. Okay, so again, I need to make changes to the Octoprint guy. So we're changing this host to be IP address, was it? Yeah. IP address, and that means I'm going to need to save it here as IP address, and I need to change it up here to be IP address. Where are you? Okay, cool. And now we go back here, and I've made changes in 2 places this time, so I need to copy both of them across. Copy here, replace. Yeah, Michael, I've seen videos of people replacing the innards with you know, a better temperature controller or whatever, but yeah, I've also seen people get okay results just out of the bare version. So yeah, I'll see how it goes. Normally the controller is something fairly simple, like just a solid state relay and thermocouple. So I actually have a thermocouple that I bought for something else, so I already have that part of it. So I don't have the solid state relay though. Okay, so let's not this one. Go to IP. Where is Octoprint? Octoprint, where are you? Here. So I'll just replace that with IP, and we'll try upload. Do you have a reflow oven, Michael? Your lab is so impressive. It could it could well have something like that in it. Oh, this is not good. What's this? Arduino JSON. Ooh, maybe I have an old version of Arduino JSON, do we? No. Ah, that's... I have the same issue down the bottom here that I had up the top. Ugh. This is what you get for copying and pasting. Actually, it's up the top. Yeah. Oopsies. So yeah, if you ever see any libraries from me, this is what I spend most of my time doing, is fixing my stupid mistakes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so a lot of the time it's just a case of kind of fixing stuff and retrying again. I have more issues though. Ugh. It's the same issue with client. I haven't changed it to be cannot convert clients to clients there in assignment. Okay, I need to fix that too. Whatever's wrong with it. Okay, so let's look at the Reddit API. Where's the constructor? Okay. So I have 2 issues. One is that is wrong. It should be that. And then the other issue is I am using that wrong. Okay, so I was again using the wrong name of client, so yeah. Let's copy across again. I'm not enjoying all this copying across, but we are where we are. I used to hate that about PHP. I haven't used PHP in a while, but yeah. Okay. Error, can't convert client to client star in assignment. Okay, so I've probably something wrong with my header. So let's take a look at that. It looks okay. I'm just looking at my... Oh, I need to dereference this. Oops. Okay, let's see. yeah, like I really do want to get into making some of my own boards. And yeah, I guess SMD is almost like a, you know, a requirement for that. So yep, just trying to set myself up. LGBK, is there no linter for CPP in Atom? There is. I've tried to set it up before and I don't know where I went wrong, but it just wasn't working for me. Okay, cool. So all I've left is these ones, and I don't know why they're not working because they used to work before. Operand types Arduino JSON. There's no match for operator slash. I don't understand because this used to compile for me. Did I comment out Arduino JSON? No, it's still there. I don't know what's up with that. Oh, maybe it didn't compile for me actually, because this is a newer version of Stephen's library. That is interesting. Maybe I have an old version of the Arduino JSON library, so let me update that. So I'll go into my sketch, include library, manage libraries, and yeah, I'm pretty sure Arduino JSON updated recently enough. I have 5.1.1 installed and there's a 5.1.3, so I'm 2 behind. Oops. So that might be a good thing for Stephen to kind of note in his examples, maybe, that you need to have a fairly up-to-date version of Arduino JSON. Or maybe mine's just very old, I don't remember. So Michael is saying I don't have a reflow oven, mainly because I did not need to solder much SMD stuff. I have a hot air station. I just use the heat up shrink tube. Yeah, I really want to get a hot air station, but I feel like that's all I use it for as well. My wife used some of my some of my heat shrink for a project she was working on, and she was just using her hair dryer, and it seemed to work fine. So that might be my solution. I've seen people use Xeon lamps for the car for SMD stuff. Yeah, I saw a pretty nice looking thing on AliExpress that I was thinking about picking up. Let me just sign in. Hey Mamadou, my name is actually Brian. Stephen is the guy whose library I'm hacking to pieces at the moment. So I know Senegal's in Africa. I don't know where in Africa though. I'm pretty sure I was rooting free in a World Cup at one stage. I support Liverpool in soccer, and we had a couple of Senegalese players at one stage. We had El Hadji Diouf, and I think Sissoko was also from Senegal. So thanks for saying hi. Let's see, my wish list. I threw it down as something. Did I? Crap. Or wanted. Yes, here we go. So yeah, I thought this looked pretty nice. It's just a board with a ton of different pads and stuff on it, and I think its sole purpose is for practicing SMD soldering. So I thought this was pretty cool. Yeah, so I might pick up one of those. LGBK, yeah, I use lighters as well. So see, this did upload this time, so yeah, the problem was I was using an old version of the library, and I don't see that thing being printed out because I never told it to print out. So API-debug equals true, and upload that, please. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, I thought it was kind of northwest. If I had to guess, that's where I would have said, but I wasn't sure. My yeah, my geography of Africa would be really poor, or my geographic knowledge of Africa would be really poor. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is connecting to the server now, which is good. So now we can start doing the fun stuff, like trying to get a response back from the server. Okay, cool. So let us take a look at what we need to do next. So scroll. Send get to Octoprint. So we need to send a get request. So we've connected to the server, and that's all good. So let's take a look at the Reddit API example that we had. So here we go. So I'm doing a println. So let's copy all this, and we'll talk through it in our window over here. So the first thing it's doing is actually I need to do this inside the connect code. But why twice? The reason I did it twice, LGB Kai, is that for the Instagram API library on ESP8266, every second time connecting to the server failed, and I don't know why. I've used that same kind of code tons of different times with tons of different APIs, and they all connect fine, but the Instagram one, just for whatever reason, every second one failed on ESP8266 2.3. So that's why I put in the 2 connects. So if it failed the first time, it would just retry the next time straight away, and it worked fine. And then for anything that was working properly, like ESP8266 2.4 or ESP32, the first one would try, and then the second one wouldn't ever get called because the first one would work fine. Hey, Shine Vision, how's it going? Okay, cool. So yeah, we're printing out. So it's a GET request that we want to make, and it's so what we only need to print out now is the endpoint that we're going to, and Steven seems to be passing that in as command here. So let's take a look at this. So yeah, command is /API/printer. So perfect. Steven is passing in command, so that's all we need to do for the endpoint. So this doesn't contain the IP address or the domain. So like the Reddit example, I'm connecting to api.reddit.com up here, and then what's down here is just what would come after that if you were putting it in the browser. I'm pretty good now, having fun. Hopefully I'm explaining things okay here. It's kind of hard to know whether you are or not. We'll see how we get on. Okay, so I kind of need to println will probably look after it. Oops. So the next thing I need to do, so these are the headers. So I'm printing out the host. It doesn't look like Steven is doing that, but I'll do it anyways. Okay, so I'm printing out the host. He also has this add header X API key, so I need to add that too. So let's do that. So each header will be on a new line. So see here, I've print host, and then I've client println. So to move to the next line, I've Octoprint host. Yeah, I really don't understand it, LGB Kai, but it worked, and it's like it's not too bad because it doesn't impact anything that works properly. So yeah, it's a good solution for a weird problem, and also because it's legacy, you know, it's a legacy version of ESP8266. Don't forget. Oh, thank you so much, Red Elva. You have saved me. Okay, so I'm gonna use something in Atom with which is pretty nice. If you press Control D, it'll find the same things. So you know, I highlighted client and then press Control D, and it highlighted the next version of client it found. And now I can edit them all as one. See the way the cursor is moving around? Then I can do underscore and it affects all of them. So thank you, Red Elva. That could have been ugly. Okay, so X API key is on one line, and now we need to print the API key, which is here, on that line as well. And then we're setting the user agent. I think Stephen has one defined or something. Yes, so we might just use his one. Or will I? I'm just gonna leave it. Sorry, Stephen, reject my pull request. Yeah, you see, you don't want it to do it a second time if oh, sorry, what is it? Same happens with UDP clients. I made a Wake on WAN client a while back. Do you have the code for that, George? Because I saw there was a Wake on WAN library, but I saw some people complaining that it didn't work, but I thought it'd be a cool idea. So I definitely would be interested in seeing the code for that if you have it. Let me know if you can't post a link or whatever. We'll sort something out. Okay, cool. So that should be all the headers sent, and now we need to deal with what comes back with that. So again, if we look at our Reddit one, so I'm doing a load of stuff that I'll explain now in a second. Yeah, just grab it all here and do it. Okay, so now, okay, I have that unsigned long now. So this is to do with if you don't get a response within 3 seconds, just give up. You don't want to give up. Should there be a space? Probably. I don't think it matters, but yeah, you normally would see a space. Firewriter. So thanks. He was just mentioning, or she, I'm not sure. They were just mentioning that there's normally a space there between the key and the value, and they're right. There is normally. Okay, so we just want to do a where can I find tutorials for 4-pin ESP8266? I'm not sure. I think you might have asked this before, and I wasn't sure at that time either. If you look up tutorials on how to flash a Sonoff device, that's a 4-pin ESP8266. Maybe that? I've never really used one though, so I'm not sure. Yeah, George, as you can see, my code is normally pretty messy too, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Oh, okay, look at all these underscore clients that I need. So yeah, so this first line is to do with, if I don't get a response back within 3 seconds, which is massive, it's probably too long, just give up. I don't want to waste any more time than that. Okay, so then the second one is while client is available, so while we're getting a response back from the other endpoint, I want to read in the character, and if the bug is true, I want to print it out. So this is just going to print the entire response, and that's all I want to do at the moment, because there's a couple of things I want to talk through. So let's get rid of all this stuff. And then there was this close client, which is something I also need to add. This is wrong. Yes, that's okay. That's okay. Who are you connected to? Okay. Let's get rid of that for the moment. I need to look after that closed client in a second, because it is needed for the ESP32. The ESP266 is okay without it for some reason, but yeah, let's look after it now. Why not? So I'm just going to add a private variable, or private method called closed client in the header. Let's put it down here, and now we'll grab our closed client. Yeah, I guess you could just add this, you know, in at the bottom of the thing, but I guess it's nice to move it out of the way a little bit. Excuse me. I really should remember to bring water with me when I'm doing these streams. Forgot underscore client read. I'll get to it now in a second, but thanks. I forgot it here too. Okay, cool. That's that one looked after. That one is not what I'm doing at the moment. I don't know, my scroll button is a little bit broken. You're right, thank you. Okay, so now what should happen here is we should connect to the server and we should get a response back, hopefully, and we're going to print that response to the serial monitor. So we'll just we've made a lot of changes, so if this compiles fine, I'll be surprised, but I did have you giving me live code reviews at the same time, so that's good. So you definitely caught a couple of issues. Okay, cool. Yes. Let's see, what else was there? Well, that's compiling. Son of ESP86 program. Let's see. Let's get a wiki here, right? Oops. Yeah, here's like a 4-wire device. Yeah, so if you take a look at that, Mamadou, where is YouTube? And I'll post it in. Yep, so if you take a look at that Mamadou, maybe that might help. I haven't checked on Twitch in a while. There's nobody in there. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of have been neglecting Twitch a little bit. I need to put more effort into setting up the events and things like that, but okay. Okay, so cool. Let's stop auto-scrolling for a minute. You're probably going to see my cookie, or my API key. I'll just reset it afterwards anyways, if you do. Okay, so the main thing that I was a bit worried... That's great, George. Thanks. I'm not sure if you're going to be allowed posted in. I think it just blocks people from. It blocks. Hey, Stephen, how's it going? Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have emailed you to even ask you permission. Could I do this? But I was just deciding to what I was going to do the stream on, whether it was going to be the clock or whatever, and I was like, this might be a fun change. Yeah, that problem that we were wondering about, Stephen, looks like it should be okay. Here is the first response back from the API, and you can see here it has the status code. So here's the 409 conflict one that we were seeing earlier. Yeah, that because my printer's not on. So yeah, we're going to be able to parse out that code. I don't think we'll get a huge amount more done, so I don't think I'll be raising a pull request this time. But yeah, you can see here's the response of it. Printer is not operational, and you can see a bit of a JSON response there. So yeah, going okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to extract out this number. So it seems to be always after the HTTP 1.1 space whatever. So okay, how am I going to do that? So is there anything else you needed to pull out from that? Let's go look at, well, we could ask Stephen, but poor Stephen's in bed and probably can't remember what his code is doing where, or at least I wouldn't know what the code was doing. Okay. HTTP code will be negative on our, okay, so that's good. That at least shows us what we want to do here. So I think I can do a client read until. So if I read until the first break line character, that would give me the first line, and then I could pluck out the response code from that. Yes, I guess the JSON body. Okay, cool. So I can definitely get access to the JSON body. That's no problem whatsoever, because I've done that loads of times. But we just need to parse out that HTTP response code. Yeah, don't feel like you need to stay on either, Steve. I can catch you up during the week or whatever, when we get something to submit. Okay, so I guess yeah, this didn't exist until Stephen created it a month ago or so, 3 weeks ago. I've been promising them that I'd make this change for him, but oopsies. Okay, right, what are we gonna do with this? So yeah, I know the feeling. We need to get this out, so I think I can use client read until, oh, that could be ESP8266 specific though. Let's see, what do I want to do? Arduino string manipulation. Actually, yeah, what I can do is let's add a new one. This is going to be terrible, but hey, when you've been at work all day and it's nearly time to go to bed, that's what you get. Okay, so status code, and we'll make this a blank string as well. Yeah, and I'm sure as well, if there's like an endpoint or whatever that Stephen hasn't implemented yet, like I would say, might only be speaking for him now, but like, you know, I would say raising a pull request would be a good idea for it. So Stephen has given foundations here on how to, you know, communicate with the Octopi server. So like it could just be a case of, if you want a different endpoint, you might need to add a new command and then parse out the JSON different. But you know, it's cool. It can be tough to maintain libraries, especially when people are like asking for specific things, and you know, you want to help out as many people as you can, but it's tough to find the time. So I definitely am very appreciative of pull requests for features that I haven't gotten a chance to work on, and they will get added eventually. Yep, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so what I want to do here now is, do I have an example of one using, yep, 1 second. Yes. So what I'm going to do is what am I going to do? Oh yeah, let's just add this to finished status code. Right. So any character I get, if finished status code is false, I'm going to just add any character I get to status code. Yes, where are we? Status code. Status code is equal to status code plus C. Yes, that will do. So that gives me my status code, and then I need to check else. No, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, and then inside that, no, what do I want to do? If status code is not equal to true. Okay, so if, oops, I need to bring back my screen. There is a generic endpoint class function to generic endpoint. Is that not the one I'm on? I'm doing the get to Octoprint. Is that? There's a generic endpoint class function to get Octoprint endpoint results. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was actually. Get endpoint Octoprint. Oh, oh, cool. You're passing in the command. Ah, yes, I get you now. And you're just responding the entire payload. Okay, that makes sense. What that is. Cool. Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you. Okay, so if C is equal to \n, then finish status code is equal to true, and then if it's not equal to n, I want to add it to status code. Right, so that should give me status code. So let me print that out. Serial.print status code. And because I'm lazy, I'm not typing that out again. Also, the microphone is kind of in the way. Let's print out what status code is, and so that's the whole status code line. So I still need to parse out the actual number from this. So let's see how that works. So I'll copy across. Yeah. Who knows whether this will work? Job file generic. All while I make the real structs. Yep. Oh, cool. If C is, oh, oops. That should be single quotes. that's that one. Okay, Octoprint example. Yeah, I'd say that'd be possible, right? That you could turn off your printer. Why not? Yeah, Max, it's getting late for us Europeans, especially if I think you're German, aren't you? It's very late for you guys. It's nearly midnight. Yeah, psi q. Yeah, exactly. So like I did have this working before, and I didn't save the save the demo code of it. But like you can display the printer status on a screen like that. So say you could be in watching TV or whatever, and keeping an eye on the status of your printer from there. Yeah. Ooh, a percentage bar. That's a good idea. Yeah. Let's see. Where am I? It's getting kind of late when I can't even figure out what screen I'm on. Yeah. So their status code is HTTP 101.409 conflict. Okay. So Stephen, you were saying that the minus, or sorry, it can be a minus status code if it's wrong. Okay, so I guess a good way to do this would be, so I have this exact string now. So if I want to take out this number here, I can look for the first instance of a space and the last instance of a space, and then take everything that's in between it, and that will give me the number. Yep. Hey Carol, how are things? Okay, so let's do that, and that will give us our, what were you setting status code to? So okay, you were basing where you needed to go based on that HTTP code conflict, which is here, I guess, is it? No, it's on the top of this file. Oops, where's that? Where is that? To found. They're both there. Must be here. Oh, it's so easy to get distracted. I probably would have had this done in about 45 minutes. Or I'd be where I am in about 45 minutes. But yeah, it's fun. It's nice to get to share some stuff. I must have deleted things. I don't understand how I can't find this HTTP code conflict. Is it part of the... It's not part of this. Oh, it's probably just like part of the client libraries, because it's a standard thing. Okay, cool. Whoopsies. Okay, so this will give me, okay, let's parse the status code. Let's get the payload as well, why not? I'll explain this now in a second. Okay, let's put the print up here. So yeah, the headers, if we look at this, the headers is anything until there's a blank line, and then it's the body that comes after that. And I know I'm printing out something here, but don't worry about that. So basically, you take everything up to this point. You take everything up to this point, and then you search for this blank line, and then you know you're finished with the headers. So that's what this is doing here. So it's if not finished headers, and current line is blank. You can see it being set down here. So if it gets 2 /n's in a row, you're finished the headers. So I'm pretty sure Stephen uses the same things as me up here. He does. Perfect. Yeah, so I don't need this if debug. I have no idea what I'm doing with with my if statements and stuff. Sorry, I actually said thanks for joining in, Max. I'll talk to you again sometime. Thanks, George. I'll definitely take a look at that tomorrow, or maybe even after the stream. Well, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm definitely missing something. I think he's one too many. I think that's it. Okay, so now I should have a body. Wow, isn't a negative status code? I thought so too. Like, yeah, I would have expected standard HTTP responses, like 200 for OK or whatever. But maybe it does come back as negative. HTTP header file has been sent. HTTP code will be negative on error. Maybe. I don't know. I will let maintainer of the library worry about that one. So I'm just going to recreate what Stephen has here anyways. Okay, so let's read out the status code. So we are going to grab our little tab here, and we're going to go to Arduino string to look up how to use this, because I forget it every single time. Arduino string substring. So we're going to use index of and last index of, and then we're going to use this substring. So let's get rid of that. So we have status code. So we want to get int first space. I'm sure there's better ways of doing this, but yeah, we are where we are. Is status code dot index of, and now we're going to pass in a space. Right, so that'll give us the first index of the space. So if we look back at this, that will give us this here. Maybe you can't see that, this here. And now we need to get the last index of the space, which will give us this one. And then anything in between is our numeric status code. Okay. So last space status code, and it is last index of. Last index of. Right, and now we need to do substring, which is from, it's from inclusive, I think. So we'll need to do our index plus 1, because we don't want the space, but then the 2 is exclusive, so we can keep the index that we currently have. So again, we can do let's do numeric status code. Like, we could move this out into its own function actually as well. It's probably a good idea. Numeric status code is status code dot sub string without a star in it, and we're going to do first space plus 1 because we don't want it to be inclusive, and then we'll do last space because that is already exclusive, and that should get us that. Okay, but while we're waiting here, let's move it out. Void extract status code. It's not a void. It is anything but a void. String status code. Yeah, this as an int. Okay. You know, it mightn't be it mightn't be yeah, I'm a little teapot. I can't remember what that is. Is it 513 or something? It mightn't be yeah, just okay, cool, Stephen. Enjoy the night. Hopefully the twins aren't too bad. It mightn't be a HTTP response LGBK that I'm thinking. It could be if there's no response, the HTTP client library, you know, returns a minus. It's not actually something it received from over the wire. It's just like, hey, I tried to parse a response and there was nothing, so here's a -1. That might make sense, because that's what I'm gonna do if I can't parse it out properly. Yeah. Oops. Control S. Okay. Why can't I? Page down. Did I copy the name of that? Yep. Extract status code. Again, if you know anything about me, I hate typing out anything. We're taking in a string here. String status code. Oh, that Steven's gone. We can have all the fun again. Giving out about his code. Let's see. I also haven't done that stop yet. Let's do. Let's wrap this in serial. Oh, sorry. If debug. Let's put these things in here. You can still see that. Okay. And we're going to return. What will this return if it doesn't find anything? Okay, so if first space is not equal to minus, if it's greater than -1, and last space is greater than -1. So this is just checking that we got an index of something, and also just for an extra sanity check is not equal to last space. I don't know if I need to do that. So this is just checking that there was one space at the start and there was another space at this end, and that they're not the same. Because if they're the same, there's something wrong. We can return that. Else, let's return -1. Yeah. Okay, cool. So extract status code. Sorry if I'm moving around kind of fast. I'm trying to finish up relatively quickly. Gavin, I am using Atom. So this isn't technically Arduino code at the moment. It's C++. What I'd really recommend getting to use is Platform.io, which is an add-on for Atom that is Arduino development. It'll probably take a little bit of getting used to. I don't find it the easiest to use, but like the IntelliSense and stuff is just so much better than the Arduino IDEs that I do think it's worth the effort, I would say. I just don't use it as my main thing because like in my videos and stuff I'm gonna have to show people the Arduino IDE, and that's what my screenshots will have to be and stuff, so I like to stick with it. Okay, so now we can start adding some of the logic here. So what is this doing? Let me uncomment this. Where is it? Edit, toggle comments. Okay, so if let's grab this because we pretty much need all of it, I think. Right. So if I could call this HTTP code, probably makes more sense. That's what I should probably call that too. Extract HTTP code, and I'll grab that there too. Okay. Okay, so HTTP code, if it's greater than 0, we want to get in here. Serial.print get code. Okay. That's probably a debug message, I would say. I don't think that should be there by default. So this get string. That get string is actually the same as our body. Gavin, there's a free version of Platform.io. It has most of the stuff that you'd want. Like the paid thing has like remote debugging and stuff, but like the free version is definitely suitable for everyday work. Like the free version has more features in it than the Arduino IDE. Yeah, I don't really like Eclipse that much, even for Java development, so I definitely don't want to introduce it into my... VS Code is another one. I think it has an Arduino plugin that's meant to be quite good. I haven't played around with it, but yeah, there's definitely other options anyways. So, payload... I have a string that is kind of payload already. Where is payload described? Is it up here? Yeah, I don't need string. Maybe I'll... yeah. Body is payload. Okay, so wherever payload is, I don't need that. It's already a string. If payload is equal to printer is not operational, make payload printer is not operational. Yeah, I guess I don't think I need to do that, right? I don't see why I would. This is body. I'm missing something here. Yeah, I think you could. I wouldn't be an expert on that. I guess what's nice about the Arduino IDE is the library support. Like, it's pretty easy to add new libraries, and the board manager is pretty good too. I'm a little bit confused to what's going on here. So, regardless... I don't seem to need the status codes at all, right? Printer. I Yeah, I get failed. It's just parse the header doesn't include it. Parse the header doesn't it just has so parse the header includes, doesn't it? Yeah, like the library manager, yeah, and when you're bringing in a library, it just like adds the header to the top of the file, but more like it installs it for you and you can search for it. I am confused. I don't see the status code meaningfully being used anywhere. So it checks if the payload is equal to printer is not operational, and if it is equal to printer is not operational, it assigns it to be printer is not operational. So that is redundant. And then this does the same thing that this does. So I actually don't see why we needed the code at all. I don't see it being used anywhere else other than to print out error messages. Print out the HTTP code. Which I'll be printing out if it's debug anyways. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I don't think I need any of this. I just can return payload. Or body, in my case. Yeah. That's if 0. Maybe you want to print out if it got this error? Yeah, I'm just checking what the library in its current function doesn't seem to do anything with meaningful with the status code. I guess it's handy to have it now, but I don't know. I don't know. Like if I return body here, I think it will work. I think it'll work with the rest of Stephen's code. Yeah, because the JSON parser also looks after like printer is not operational. It doesn't look after, you know, if they're not authorized or something LGB Chi, which is true. And it would be good for it to do that, but I'd have to like return a struct or something, because I'd need to return the string back and the status code. Because all I'm returning back now is a boolean. Okay, let's test that this works, and also I'm gonna make a change to this too. So string command gets appended to /API host. So this is the get Octoprint endpoint results. again, this should be wrapped in the debug, I would say. And I don't see a reason why we couldn't use the thing that we already have to instead of making a separate request to so what do we, so someone passes in command here and then Stephen puts a /API before it. So I don't see why we couldn't pass this on to send get print to Octoprint. Or maybe this is being used here. No, it's the same. It's the exact same code. So I'll just return the response to that, and that should be the same as it was doing before. We just have way less code in it. So if you're confused to what I was doing there, hey Cosmoda. So if you're confused to what I was doing there, there was two different functions that did pretty similar things from a functional point of view. So one called command with /API in front of it, and the other one just called command straight away. Like, so they both sent get requests. Unless one of them is a post. No, it's not, it's get. Oops. Why? Yeah, so now instead of doing two separate ones, I would do this instead. Why would you need a string? It's the body of the JSON that we need to parse into an object. So like that would return the, we don't see a huge amount of it here because my printer is not running, but like all this, you know, printer state, estimated print time, job file date, job file name and stuff. Yeah, there's probably good reasons why people don't do it, Cosmata, because it's maybe it's kind of boring. I don't know. Yeah, so I think this is in okay shape. If this compiles, I'll probably raise the PR and I'll just tell Stephen to not merge it because it needs to add examples and stuff. Oh, there's one other thing I want to do as well. I want to close the, I've made myself a close client. I may as well make use of it. Let's do it here. Close client. So that'll just close the client if it can. Yeah. Okay. So bets on this working. I guess it will be a better test for me to turn on the printer as well. It is very loud and it's pretty close to my daughter's room, so I don't really want to. No, it'll be fine. If we just get the same messages we were getting before, that would be good. Yeah. If character count is not declared in the scope. Oops. Cool. Are you in university or college, or just trying to learn on your own? It's a tough thing to pick up on your own. Like, it's amazing the amount of different you know, pieces of software and or just pieces of where did I put that character count? I got rid of that somewhere. It's amazing kind of all the things online, you know, that are available to people, but it's still no easy task to learn something like that. Character count is not declared in scope. Is that enough for me to do it there now? Character count is 0. Character count is less than... Yeah, I don't know where that went. Or what the story was with it. Oh, I probably never had it, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm getting getting tired now. Oh, sugar. LGBTQI. I mean, why you need a structure with a string for the status code? If you want to post it in just without the HTTP or whatever, I can go to the URL or just tell me what to Google. But like if we need to return the body of the response, which would be the JSON, and we need to return the status code, which isn't part of the body, that was part of the headers. There are two separate pieces of information that we'd need to return back. I never copied across this. Oops. God dang. Yeah, maybe there's a way of me not blocking that. I don't know. I didn't specifically say, hey, I want you to block all URLs, but extract status code does not name a type, doesn't it? Oops. Yeah. Self-learning for the win. Oops. Yeah, like I'm that way with Arduino stuff. Like I haven't done C++ like since first year of college or something. That's it is 10 years ago. I think it's close. Yeah, it's definitely. Oh, I forgot to copy across again. Yeah, so like I'm self-learning with this stuff again, and yeah, I probably should try, I don't know, understand things a little bit better. I'm maybe too big of a fan of like, hey, let's get this thing working, and cool. So, just check status code and check it is it in the function. I didn't want to. Oh, okay. And what, like, respond or change the response back to be like user is unauthorized or whatever, and then like let the other. Yeah, that could work actually. It's probably a good idea. Okay, so this uploaded. I should probably turn off debug mode. So cool. This is working the same as it was before. Printer is not operational. Let's turn on the printer. I think I'll be able to show my printer from here, but it's over there in the corner. Let's get in here. Okay, so let's go back. What was it? Screen share plus me. Okay. So yeah, so my printer is on now, but Octoprint isn't connected to it. So let's do that. Jeez, so many tabs open. There's Octoprint. I'm just going to take that off screen while I log in. Oops. Oops. If I can remember my password. Okay, I'm in. Yeah, so let's see if I can get this and this going. So it doesn't see my serial port. Oops. Okay, it sees it this time. Still running super old version of Octopi. Later. Let's connect. So you can see it's connecting here. Oh, SpongeBob. Yeah, I can never have enough SpongeBob. Yeah, I've that guy a while now. He's sitting on top of an incredibly expensive chair that I got from work. You know, when they were updating their chairs. So now I've got an operational here, and I have printer is not operational here. So I'll just reset to get it up to date. I don't know how often it does it. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, printer is operational. You can see that the bed temperature is 20.8, which is pretty close to what it is here. Yeah, so there we go. There's a completely moved over to standard client. So yeah, the things that would need to be done next on this is to add examples for the changes. Octoprint is open source, yep, and is really nice software. Like I don't know, you're using a 3D printer wrong, I think, if you're not using Octoprint. It's so nice to be able to, like, you know, so this is that PC that you could see there. Let's just ask. That silver PC to the left of SpongeBob. That's the PC that's running this. So, like, you know, I'm connecting to that PC from my actual PC, and from here I can upload my G-code files, I can start my prints, I can, you know, this also looks after capturing images using webcam and stuff like that. So it's super nice. I really recommend it if you don't have it already. Yeah, so the next things would be to add examples. So like it would be easy enough to update the ESP8266 example. Oh, we do have the problem with the IP address though, so we need to solve that. So they're the two issues. So I have, like, at the moment, the way my library currently is, it only supports IP addresses and doesn't support like, if you had, you know, I could have like a website, brianlock.com, and I could have octoprint.brianlock.com forward to my Octoprint server, which, you know, wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility, and that's not supported with the library at the moment. So let's to finish this off, I'm just going to check in my changes to my branch, or my my library, or my repo. Oops, so uncommitted changes here. I've only actually changed 2 files so far, and you can see over here on the right, I don't know how they changed, but they did, all the changes that I've made. Yeah, so I'm going to stage them all, and that means I'm ready to check them in, and I can add a comment here as well. So removing ESP8266 HTTP client. So this is still a work in progress. Removing ASP and replacing with, actually, do you know what, I will update, well, I'll comment these in, I'll check these in first, and then I'll update the example with just what I have, even though it's bad. And replacing with regular client. And I'm gonna just push this so it goes straight from my so that's not only checked into my local one, which is on my PC, but now it's also up on GitHub too. So let's just update the example. I'm not even going to test the example. So it's the Hello World serial one. Yeah, I'm just too tired. So we'll go here. So what do I want? Host. I didn't use host. So let's replace this IP address. Oops. Here. IP address was my main change, I think. Yep. Port number's grand. API key is fine. This was a change as well. This Octoprint library. Thanks, Cosmata. I appreciate it. If you missed the start of it as well, like, it'll go up on YouTube as soon as I finish this stream. I know it's not the easiest thing to watch back, but I try to stream at around this time every Monday. It's a bit of a commitment in terms of, like, it's not really a big problem doing the stream. It's just that, like, the amount of days a week that I can work on videos or whatever, you know, is limited, because I can't be just not available to my daughter and wife. But like, so if I do the streams on a Monday, it's one day that I'm not working on videos, you know. So I'm just gonna add that example. I'm not even gonna test it. Yeah, updating one example, not even tested, and we'll push that change. Yeah. Have you done any ESP8266 projects before, Cosmata? It's I think it's a nice thing to get started with. I mentioned on the Wi-Fi client. Ah, yes, thank you. That's true. That was a change I made, and I can get rid of this guy too. Good shout. Don't worry, we can just add another one. That's the beauty of Git. There, boom. I should just check that it compiles right. It's just lazy to check that it's not compiling. So yeah, I think I have one or two solid state relays in my boxes. I could send you these, some SOX thingies. That'd be pretty cool. Whereabouts are you based, Si? Like, it could be kind of expensive to ship something to me. I'm not too sure. That would be interesting though. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. China. Yeah. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that reflow oven yet. Like, if it works okay, I mightn't do anything with it. But no, that's a really generous offer. Thanks a lot. Oh, I'm like, why isn't this doing anything? It just hasn't saved it. Germany. Mightn't be too bad. So it's late for you now, so you should be in bed. I should be in bed too. While this is doing this, let's check it in. Wi-Fi client. Yep, looks good. Gosh, Wi-Fi client. Thanks. GP. Okay. I was in Germany just before Christmas, just at the end of November, actually, in Munich. I was over to see the Christmas markets. It was really nice. Traveling with a baby is stressful. Just going through airports and stuff, because you have so much extra stuff for them, and you almost have one less person to carry everything because one person's carrying the baby. So yeah. So let's go back and look at my GitHub. So this is my Octoprint, and if we refresh the page here, you'll see that I made a check-in 6 minutes ago and a minute ago. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click new pull request, and I'm pushing it to Steve's pull request, right? Or Steve's API, or Steve's branch. Right, where do I add the comments? It's after. So I'm going to create pull requests. So work on removing they speak German. Yeah. One thing that was kind of funny before was I know it's not this is even further from you. No, what's this, Munich? Or no, it was Berlin. I was going to the European Soccer Championships in 2012 in Poland, and Ireland's first game was against Spain, and it was in Poznan, wasn't it? Yeah, and that's not too far from Germany, and like the flights to Poznan were really expensive, but the flights to Germany weren't too bad, and they don't speak English anyways, so but I bought flights that got me there in time by flying to Dublin to Frankfurt and then Frankfurt to Berlin, because there was no direct flights at the time, and then Ryanair announced direct flights and they were only like €80 or something, so I was like, I'll just buy the direct flight and I'll just forget about the other one. But yeah, there was there's something weird going on with Berlin airport. They were meant to open a new one just before we went there, and it didn't open, so they were still using the old one. So technically my flight had got changed to a new airport, even though it was actually the same runway, because I was meant to fly into the new one and I ended up flying into the old one. And like I rang Lufthansa and I was like, hey, yeah, I don't want that flight anymore, and they're like, oh no, don't worry, it's fine. I'm like, no, just refund me the money, I don't want it. So that worked out pretty good. Work on removing a HTTP client, regular client. Steve, don't merge yet. Need to sort out IP address versus regular URL. Oops. Need to add examples. Okay, and that is oh yeah, that was the other thing. I flew to Berlin like 3 years ago. So this was 2012, and I flew to Berlin like 3 years ago, and that airport still wasn't open. And it was meant to open while I was like, it was meant to open in June 2012, and I think it's still not open. There's something wrong with the ventilation system or something. It's really weird. Like in Ireland, we have like this notion that anything Germans do is incredibly efficient, and if we didn't have if we had an airport that was, the building was finished since 2012, that still wasn't open, we'd be like, typical Irish, we can't do anything right. Look, Look at the Germans. Yeah, I was talking to someone else from Germany and they were saying the same thing. It was just like, this thing has cost them billions. It's insane. So this PR is now available. So when you go into Steve's one, if you look at pull request, it's here. So he has the ability now to comment on the different changes. He can approve this. If he approves it and merges it in, my code will now be part of his library too. But he shouldn't approve it at the moment because it's a break and change. I haven't added any examples. I haven't updated the README or anything like that. So yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty tired, so I'm just gonna finish it up there. Thanks so much for joining in. As I mentioned, I try to stream every Monday, so we'll see you next week, and hopefully I might get some more of a video done this week. I'd like to try get at least a video a month out, maybe even 2. So yeah, cool. Thanks so much for the company, and I'll see you next time.